In this video, let's talk about a former Chiefs running back signing with the Cowboys, a familiar face of the D-line returning, a look at the current salary cap for the Chiefs, and also an interesting QB that should come to Kansas City and back up Mahomes according to Wright. But first, how about those Chiefs? All right, first of all, I'm excited to let you guys know that the pre-draft event is getting closer and there's only 10 spots remaining. That's right, I'm hosting a pre-draft event at Boulevard Brewery in KCMO, April 26th, 6 to 9 p.m. and only 10 spots are left, so make sure to get your ticket before they're gone, which is roughly $60 with taxes and fees, but includes beer on tap, barbecue dinner, coffee, all kinds of good stuff like that, and also a chance to hang out with the HBTC community to celebrate the draft being in Kansas City. If interested, click the link in the description or go to register.hbtchiefs.com because these tickets are about to be gone. All right, there were a couple of smaller moves today that happened. For starters, former Chiefs running back and current free agent until today, Ronald Jones II, agreed to terms on a one-year deal with the Dallas Cowboys, which makes sense that they would add some veteran depth because last week they just released running back Ezekiel Elliott, and despite getting beat out by 7th-round rookie Isaiah Pacheco and only playing in 6 games, rushing 17 times for 70 yards and a touchdown, I believe RoJo still has plenty of gas left in the tank. I mean, just back in 2020, he ran for 978 yards and 7 TDs when he was with the Bucs, and I'm sure nowadays he just wants to play for a team that will feed him the ball, so I can't blame the guy for moving on. He wanted out of KC for months. He announced that on Twitter, but the Chiefs were not willing to let him go as he was the next man up if Pacheco or somebody were to go down, especially once Clyde, CEH himself, was put on IR once again for his high ankle sprain. Anyway, I wish RoJo nothing but the best in his next chapter with the Cowboys. And then a free agent returns, a very familiar face for the team, and that is defensive tackle Derrick Nnadi. He certainly had a bit of a down year last season, to say the least, actually having his worst overall graded season in his career so far, and was also the lowest graded defensive player on the team per PFF, at least for the interior of the D-line. However, he's a depth piece that knows the system and will more than likely be pretty cheap. Some, though, did seem surprised that Nnadi would return at all, saying that he played poorly enough last season that he doesn't deserve to be back at all. And while that is a little harsh in my opinion, he did for sure have a down year. However, I think the main reason why Nnadi is back is more than likely a couple reasons here. One, Colin Saunders signed a 3-year deal worth up to $14.5 million with the Saints, and Saunders was definitely the better player, but with the Chiefs deciding not to pay Saunders that much and let him walk, at least that's the perceived thought. Had KC been willing to match, Saunders may have very well opted to stay in Kansas City as he seemed rather happy here, but with him gone, Nnadi is merely a depth piece to return that is definitely cheaper, way cheaper, and already familiar with the system. Defensive tackle is a position of need, so that's reason number 2, but this also gives the Chiefs a little breathing room at the position. Matt Connor of Arrowhead Addict shared a tweet showing Derrick Nnadi's playing time throughout the years, showing he's played less snaps each and every year since coming here in 2018, 2019. Then Matt said, the signing is about the floor, not the ceiling. It's insurance to draft pressure-free and take the best value on the board. So there you go. Nnadi's back, and you got to let me know your thoughts on the signing in the comments below. Do you like the idea of bringing back a familiar face who had a down year last year, but knows the system and will be pretty affordable? Or do you wish the Chiefs opted to cut ties and start fresh? Regardless of your stance and my stance on the matter, the Chiefs needed the depth and are filling some roster holes at the moment, though I don't think they are done here at the defensive tackle position, in my opinion, whether it's another signing, the draft, or maybe both. And speaking of defensive tackles, let's talk about the Chiefs' current salary cap space and how the extension of a certain very good defensive tackle could bring the Chiefs some much-needed cap relief. The NFLPA has the Chiefs' cap space listed currently as $7.5 million, and over the cap's projected space is at $9.5 million. And while this does include the salary of offensive lineman Nick Allegretti, it doesn't include safety Mike Edwards or linebacker Drew Tranquil at the moment. So you'll need their cap hit for this year and there, and also around $3 million or so for the upcoming draft picks. And that leaves not much room to work with at the moment for the Chiefs as far as other moves are concerned, like, for example, a higher profile veteran wide receiver signing like Odell Beckham Jr., since everyone wants to talk about him, or a trade for somebody like DeAndre Hopkins, which is going wild on Chiefs Twitter right now. Everybody wants this man to come to KC. So what can the Chiefs do from here if they don't have enough cap space to make moves like that? Well, the Chiefs already restructured Mahomes' contract, so that option is not available. But another thing they could do to free up some space is to extend Chris Jones. His current cap hit is right around $28 million, and an extension could easily give the team an additional 8, 10, 12, somewhere in there, $1 million or so, depending on how they structure it for another move to be made. And until this extension happens, or the Chiefs tweak the contract of another player, I don't know, Travis Kelce, Tooney, somebody like that, I don't think we will see a big swing at any position at all, though of course they could work in smaller signings still, including potentially a veteran backup QB to compete with Shane Buechele for QB2, and a name that recently got thrown into the mix is Cam Newton. Nick Wright said today on his show that Cam Newton should seriously come to Kansas City.
Cam, come to Kansas City.
Oh!
It makes perfect sense.
And he goes on to say that Cam won't cost a lot of money. He can run the ball like nobody's business, and as a spot starter, wouldn't be a disaster. And you could also build a package for him with QB sneaks and other niche things like that, since the Chiefs have shown they do not want to use Mahomes in that capacity anymore, especially after he hurt his knee a few seasons ago. And you know what? I don't hate the idea of Cam Newton being in Kansas City, considering a couple of things. His size, he's 6'5", 245 pounds, and could probably QB sneak more effectively than Kelce or Noah Gray or Blake Bell if he happens to return. And in a pinch, he could back up Patrick Mahomes in case of emergency. However, I don't think the Chiefs would bring Cam in, as they typically wouldn't want a distraction in the locker room with such a high-strung guy. I do like Cam, but if Belichick could make it work with him, even for a season, Andy Reid could make it work with them. And while Cam Newton isn't better than most starters in the league, even though he claims otherwise, he could still be a quality backup. I mean, in 2020, he threw for 2,600 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions for New England. So again, I don't know about him being a starter, but if Cam wanted to come chase a ring and back up Patrick LaVon Mahomes II, what say ye? I don't know why I just King James all of a sudden. Do you absolutely hate the idea? Love it? Are you indifferent? Regardless if it's Cam or someone else, I do think Andy Reid is going to bring in a vet QB to compete for the QB2 spot alongside Shane Buechele, because Andy Reid has always had a veteran QB in the lineup since he came to Kansas City. Nick Foles, Chase Daniel, Matt Moore, Chad Henne, who recently retired. And the reason why Cam Newton is even in the news recently, he dropped the video on social media and is throwing at Auburn's pro day to his brother, Kalen Newton, fun fact. So that's kind of why he's even being brought up in the first place. You got to let me know your thoughts on the backup QB situation, Cam Newton or nah. So let me know. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?